write our first program. Okay, so we will just write print parenthesis quotes. You can use double quotes or single quotes, it's your choice. Python supports both the quotes. So here you are using double quotes. Okay, so we will write now my name Shivam Maurya, and we will now run it. So here we are getting our result Shivam Maurya. It is just giving output my name. Okay, so in future if I'll teach you any graphical representation program or GUIs or any other, so we will get our result in the terminal window only. Okay, in the terminal window only we get our result. So in case you are using Pycharm, you can just scroll it above or just minimize it, it's your choice. Okay, and in case if you have any problem, if you are just running it in your system, and if you get any sort of error, just comment down it so that I can help you in that. Okay, just comment.
Okay, so now let us see how a Python program executes. Okay, here we will write now print Python, or we'll write print program. If we just run it, we'll get our result. But in this result we can see that the Python executes the program line by line. Means if we're executing from the first to the third line, we can see that it will print first the first line, then second line, then third line. It will not print like that, first programming, then Python, and then Shivam Maurya. No, it will first print Shivam Maurya, the first line, then Python, then program. Okay, Python also includes, these are the statements. Python also includes comments. We'll just, these are comments. These are used for only documentation purpose. If we are running a program, it will not execute. Okay, it is not part of our program, it is part of our only code. Okay, just in companies, when our seniors want our projects or our codes, then comments help to understand the codes of each line. Okay, so it helps to understand the each line. Just like here, if we are writing Python, so we can write here, it is name. Here if we are writing, we can write here, it is a language. Okay, so if we just run it, we can see it doesn't affect our program. Okay, it will not affect our program. Always remember, it will also always start from hash. Always start from hash. But if we are using this hash not here but from here, then it will also be a command. If we just run it, you can see it is not printing the Python. It is not printing on Python. It is only printing Shivam Maurya and program. Okay, so always remember that if we are using comments, always remember that where you are using. Always check that it is not creating any stoppage for the statements of your program. Okay, so now you know how to print your programs. Okay, now you know how to print some statements in Python. Now here we go for variables. What are variables? Variables are simply a storage value, okay, in which we store our values. Okay, just like here, if I write name is equals to Shivam Maurya, and if you print this name not like this, okay, we should not print this variables not like this. It will print the name, not the value of the variable. It will print that string. Everything in everything that is written in quotes, in double quotes or single quotes, are the strings only in Python. Okay, in Python, if you are seeing that something is written in quotes, that then they are strings. Okay, so now if you want to print the value of that variable, we will write just name, and we will just run it, and we get our result. Okay, Shivam Maurya, we are getting our result. Now if you want to add any message with that, you can do that also. Welcome, comma, name. So if you run it, you can see we are getting the result. Welcome, Shivam Maurya. Now if you want, not in this program but we will use in this feature also, by using plus sign. Okay, so in Python we can add strings, we can add numbers, but we cannot add numbers and string together. Okay, so let us see. I'm saying let's create a variable num for number. Okay, so if we just print num plus name, okay, if we just run it, we'll see that okay, the variable is not defined. Okay, so here is an error. That error says that there is an unsupported operand. That is, it should be an integer, it should be a string. Okay, there should be one of these, not both. Okay, so we will just convert this number into a string now. Okay, so we're converting this number in string so that we can print this out in one line statement. Let's print it out. Get print 45 Shivam. Okay, but if you just use a comma, you can get our space also. 45 Shivam Maurya. Okay, so this is what we call a type conversion. We are converting the type of that variable. First it was a integer, here it was integer, and here it was string. To print both in the same line, we have to convert it into string. Just like if you print this num, it will not show any error for it. See, here it is printing 45 for free. But if we are printing in the same line, it should be in a one type. It should be string only, then only it will print this. Now let us see some rules of the variables we should use. Okay, we have to always take care of that. Without, if we are not following that rules, it will show an error. Python says if we are creating a variable, it should not start with a number or integer. It's like if we write 1 and here we write 1, and if we just run it, we will get an error. See, valid syntax. Why? Because a variable should not start with a integer. We can include integers in between the alphabets, or we can use it at the last. Okay, I'll just print this out. Let's run it and we'll see our result. 45 should not. Clear this short so I can see it this time.
Okay, so just remove this, just run this, see the result. Okay, so we have seen one rule that we should always include the integers in between the alphabets or at the last, but not from the start. Next is, if you are creating a variable, it should only include alphabets, numbers, and you can use underscore. You can use underscore at the start, at the end, at between. It's your choice. Okay, it's your choice. So if you just print this out, we will run it, we get our result. Okay, so here we see that Python has some rules which says that if you're creating a variable, it should always create a variable which includes integers, alphabets, or underscore. But integers should not start from the it should not be at the starting of that variable. Underscore can be in between anywhere, but other than underscore we cannot use any of the symbol. It's like if I'm using asterisk in here. Okay, so if I'm using asterisk, it will show an error. Syntax cannot assign to operator, or any other sign, or just like slash, then it will show it. Okay, so we can only use one symbol, that is underscore. After that, let me show you something else. Okay, so just like if you want that the variable, let me make this shorter, print name for 50 times. If we just run it, we'll get our desired result. See, it is printing Shiva Maurya for 50 times. Make it some shorter, it will help for you. It's like if I write py into 50, and if we just run it, we can see it is printing py for 50 times. Okay, so it is printing that value, that string for 50 times. But if we are using a number, it will just multiply it and we get our result. Okay, see, 2250 is the multiplication of these both the numbers. So creating a variable, a is equals to py dot split. This is a very important function. This will used from your beginner to advanced to another advanced. Okay, so it is very important functions, so always remember it and how to use it and where to use it. So we are having a space in between our string. We have only space in between the string. So if we just print it, print a, just execute it, we will get the each part in a different manner, separated by a comma, but in a list form. List is very much important, or you can say the roots of data science or Python programming. Okay, so mainly you should know how to use list, where to use it, and how to make a list. Okay, so I will teach you this, but here we are now at beginner level or basics level, so that's it for right now. Okay, so split. So what function, what split is doing right now? Split is just taking a parameter which shows that from what your string, like my py, from what parameter your string is divided. Just like here we have space, just like if I am here using comma and here I am using comma, so it will just execute that. Here if I'm using and okay, so it will just separate it. But if I'm using and I'm not writing here, so it will don't change anything, it will just print this but in a list form. So always remember, split always print the statement in a list form, not in any other list data type. Okay, it will always print in list type. Now for next function, I think if you don't get it, just comment down it that from where from which point you wrote in it. So next video, before I start, I will just clear your doubts. Okay, write your questions, it will help me and you too. I will include some questions too in this tutorial, so it will help you out. Okay, so we have seen now the how split works, how we can split or divide our strings. Now here we go for some functions you should know. Okay, it is used every day and it will be better for your practice too. I will just change some of this. Py dot lower. Let us see what it will do. Let me just okay. So what you're getting from this, it shows that if you have a string which is in capital form, in the capital letter, it will just create in a small letter, lower, or you can say any of the letters like N, like G, it will print in small letter only. Like this, there is another function that is upper. Just print this, it will print every string in a capital letter. Okay, so it's easy, but you should know that we have to use upper and lower. Now here is some another function is upper. Means is upper means that if the string is in capital letter or in small letter. Here it is in small letter and capital letter both, so it will show in false also, false only. And if we write lower, run it, it will show false. But if I'm creating this, okay, so if we just run it, okay, 1 minute, close it. Okay, so it will show false because none of the characters are in small letters. But if you write here upper, it will show true. Why? Because each of the letters in the string is in upper letter form. Okay, so here it is. And some another function you should, these are the functions important. If another function we have to use, I will tell you, but till now these are some important function. Just go through it, practice it, and come back here. We will go forward for it. Okay. So after knowing all these string functions, okay, functions, print statements, variables, what are the rules for variables, to create variables. Okay, now we here we go for the how to create input. Okay, so if we just want input from the user, just like in hospitals, in companies, in just like now right now we are giving input to the CoWIN for the registration. So we write our number, we enter our OTP, so it's input for the machine. So it will just use it for the process. So just see how to use input, write your name. Okay, so if we just run it, we will just write our name, Shivam. Okay, so if let us just store it in a variable, a is equals to input is equals to print hi input. Okay, so we just run it, you will write any of your name just like Shivam. If we just enter it, we will get the message hi Shivam. Why? Because we have written this print hi input. Okay, so it's easy to understand how input works. Okay, let us create some another input, shift F10 for execution, Shivam Maurya. We will just enter it to run it again, and it is hi Shivam Maurya. Okay, so if we want that it should be in, if you want to use that input, okay, so if you want to use that input like a is equals to input dot split by space. Okay, not we will just write print a 0, not 0, oh yeah, 0 and comma 1 minute, first name comma second name comma a1. Let us see what it will do. And here we run it. Here is an error. Why? Because I have not used quotes here, so it is now asking where the variable is assigned before you are using it. Okay, so we'll just run it, and I'm writing here Shivam Maurya. So first name Shivam, second name Maurya. Why? Because as we have seen a split, it will convert the string into a list form. Okay, so in a list there is also indexing. Okay, just like if I'm printing here a, and run it, and just write the input Shivam Maurya. So here we see it's separated by a comma. It is separated by a comma. Why? Because when we are using split and we are using a parameter to separate it, it will just separate it from that point and it will create at an index. Okay, so we will just see list also, because list is very vast. We will just go in deep with it. Okay, but in next tutorial, in the next video. From here we are now closing it. We will just go to the next video. Okay, have some confusing mind that why it is happening, go search for it, comment down it why it is happening, and we will go to the next video when we will release it. So now we will go through the strings part. Okay, so now we will just go to variable py python programming. Okay, so here you will just see the slicing part. Slicing means in a string, if you want only some part only, you only want here only Python, not programming part. So how will print this out? Because if you print py, you will get Python programming, but if you want only Python, not programming, so let us see how we'll do it. Let us just create a variable slicing equal to py square brackets. Okay, so in Python, okay, in Python, if you are using a string, if you are having a string, it will have some sort of indexing. Okay, so it will have some indexing. The Python, the Python, the first letter of the Python, that's P, the indexing of that will be 0. So it will start from 0 to the end, and from left to right, and from the right to left it will start from -1. It's like if you print, let me print this some shorter, print -1. If you just run it, you will get only G. Okay, if we just put it 0, it will print P. So it will start from 0 and end to -1. No, it will not start from 0 and end to -1. It will start from 0 from left to right, and the end will be at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Okay, so if we just write here 17, we will just run it, we'll get the G. Okay, so I'm saying that if you are starting from left to right, it will start from 0, and if you are starting from right to left, it will start from -1. Okay, so if you are starting from -1, and if we here print -18, it will print P. Okay, so if you are starting from right to left, it will be in negative order. Okay, so if you only want Python part, okay, so you will just write the starting, okay, the starting, and colon, okay, for a sub part that from here to here you will want this, and then P Y T H O N to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here 5, but it will not print our desired result. Why? Because in Python, if you are using a slicing, it will not print the last, just like there should be a starting and ending part. Okay, it will not print that ending part, it will just print the ending part -1. Okay, so if I'm writing 5, it will print from 0 to 4. If I'm writing 6, it will print from 0 to 5. Okay, so it will print from 0 to 5. Always remember, because sometimes we see that that if we're executing the code, our code, then we see that if we're executing the code, sometimes don't print that last part, and you think that why it is not printing. That is the reason only. That's the reason, because the Python only take from starting and ending -1. Okay, so always remember, if you want to print from starting to end, always write starting to end +1. Okay, so I have to print from 0 to 5, so I'm writing from 0 to 5 plus 1, that is 6. Okay, so here is slicing, just like, and if I am not using this 6 and only colon, because if I'm doing both of these, then we will get only P part. but if I'm using colon and if I'm executing this, we can get whole part. But what is this? What does this mean? That it means that if we have some starting point but we don't have ending point, so it will go to the last part. Just like if I'm here write 5, start from 5 and go to the end part. Okay, the end programming. That's it. If I'm executing -1, just like from right to left. Okay, from right to left, so it will print from programming Python. It will not print opposite. Okay, -1. Okay, so it is wrong because -1, because we have to write ending part and starting part both. I am writing firstly the ending part. Okay, because we are counting from right to left, but Python is executing it from left to right only. We have to write -18 and we will just print it out. Okay, just like this, -18 to, if you want, -18 to, let's just say 5 or 6, it will better. Shift F10, it will print Python. So if you don't get this route now, don't worry. Okay, just comment it down or just practice it, because if you want, because people ask me to get a job or to be an advanced in Python programming, how can I be, what time it takes, it just depends on your efforts, your commitments. Okay, so just go through it, practice it, have error, ask me, we have groups, you can ask freely there. Okay, so just comment down it so that I can reply you there also. Okay, so don't worry about that, that who will help you, there are many, there are internet, just search your error, you will get many of the solutions. Okay, so here the slicing part. Next we will see